Long ago, on a dusty road in old Japan, there lived a poor young man with an empty purse and a patient heart. He owned no field, no horse, and no fine clothes. But each morning, he bowed to the sun and said, "If I can be useful today, that will be enough." One evening, hungry and tired, he slept beside a small temple of Kannon, the bodhisattva of mercy. In a dream, a gentle voice came through the incense smoke. "When you wake, take the first thing that comes into your hand. Do not throw it away." At dawn, he rose quickly, still half inside the dream. His foot caught on a stone, and he fell forward with a little cry. When he opened his hand, he found only a single piece of rice straw. It was bent, dry, and worthless. The young man almost laughed, but he remembered the dream and tucked the straw into his belt. Soon, a bright dragonfly landed near him. He gently tied it to the end of the straw with a grass thread, making a tiny, fluttering toy. The road suddenly felt less lonely. By midday, a noble family passed in a travelling palanquin. Inside, a small child saw the dragonfly bobbing in the sunlight and reached out with both hands. "Please," the child cried, "I want that little flying straw." The young man smiled and gave it away. The child's mother thanked him and placed 3 sweet mandarins in his hands. They shone like little suns against his rough sleeves. He had begun the morning with 1 dry straw. Now he carried the smell of summer fruit. In the hot afternoon, he found a noblewoman resting beside the road. Her attendants had run out of water, and her face was pale from thirst. The young man looked at the mandarins, then at her trembling hands. Without bargaining, he offered all 3. The fruit refreshed her like cool rain. In gratitude, the noblewoman gave him a folded bolt of fine silk. The cloth was pale and smooth, far too beautiful for a man in patched clothes. He carried it carefully, as if carrying moonlight. Near a river crossing, a samurai retinue had stopped beside a tired horse. The animal could barely stand, and the travellers were worried. They needed fine cloth for an urgent gift, but they could not take the horse farther. The young man listened and offered the silk. In return, they left the horse in his care. He led it to the river, washed its legs, and let it drink slowly. He gathered grass and waited in the shade. By evening, the horse lifted its head and stepped forward with new strength. The next day, he reached a large manor gate. The owner was preparing for a sudden journey and needed a strong horse at once. When he saw the animal's bright eyes and steady legs, he offered a small, empty house and a patch of rice field. The young man bowed until his forehead nearly touched the ground. That night, he slept under his own roof for the first time. The house was small, the walls were plain, and the floor creaked in the wind. But to him, it felt wider than any palace. He placed a lantern by the door and whispered thanks to the road. Years passed. He worked the field carefully, shared rice with travellers, and never forgot the hunger of his old days. The small field became many fields. The empty house became a warm home. People began to call him a Choja, a wealthy man. Yet on a small shelf near the household shrine, he kept one dry piece of straw. When children asked why such a poor thing sat among family treasures, he smiled. "Because," he said, "fortune does not always arrive shining. Sometimes it is small enough to fit in your hand." This tale is called Warashibe Choja, often translated as the Straw Millionaire. Warashibe means a piece of rice straw. Choja means a wealthy person. Many versions begin with a prayer to Kannon and a promise to value the first thing found after leaving the temple. The story is not only about clever trading, it is about attention. The young man notices a child's wish, a traveller's thirst, and a tired horse's need for care. Each small kindness changes the shape of his life. At bedtime, the tale leaves a quiet thought. Perhaps luck is not something we chase, but something we recognize when it is already in our hands. Thank you for listening. May your dreams be peaceful.